Unthinkable trade, doodling in Etruscan, addicts of drugs not yet synthesized, black marketeers of World War III, excisers of telepathic sensitivity, osteopaths of spirit, investigators of infractions denounced by bland paranoid chess players.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Romanelli, and this is the Free Thinker Society. I'm here with my main man, Clint. What's going on, Clint?
Not much. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Hanging in there. Hanging in there. I wish I
Yeah.
could say I'm great, but I'm not.
Well, it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The world.
The world is getting crazy. I feel like it's getting dumber and crazier, but yes,
The rhetoric is working perfectly.
like clockwork, man.
It's so good.
I don't. You know what's funny is our reaction too, because if we went back in March, we knew all of this.
Yeah.
we predicted all of this. We knew it was going, but I'll speak for myself actually. I'm like shocked every week. Oh, here we are. But if you go back into March when we were in our basements doing this, we knew all this was going to happen. We predicted it all, from the lockdown to a little bit of giving you a little bit more freedom to around the holidays to do it all over again. Around the election, we all said, right?
Well, and we all knew that fall is flu and cold season anyway,
True.
and that would be a perfect way to be like, yo.
Right? You know what's funny too, man? I was saying this, and this is obviously bro science, and I have no fucking idea because I'm not a scientist, but
Wait, what?
is that you didn't know that?
I did.
Sorry to burst your bubble, dude. So there has to be something with the weather. The weather has to. I know it's everyone who's so dumb. You're so dumb with the weather. But okay, look at Florida. Florida has stayed open the whole time. It's warm, right? They have the same rate but less deaths. Which obviously we could talk about the rates and all that. Maybe it's cold flu, whatever it is, or then they're all calling right because they say the flu is down, the numbers are down, or they're not even showing them.
Yeah, exactly. Dave said they were going to stop counting them or something ridiculous.
I've been reading stuff
and
like
I'm
that.
like, what?
yeah, like the numbers are completely down with that. So it's interesting that in the summer, I don't know. In the summer, I didn't hear about anybody getting it, right? And it was definitely a lot more open. Everything in New Jersey or in the New Jersey area, everything was a lot more open. I mean, everyone was outside more, but it seemed like it was more open. And now everywhere you go, you're hearing people are getting this fucking thing, left and right. I mean, now I have to say this time around. The first time, we would all ask each other, "Do you know anyone that had it?" I remember Tripoli would call me every day. Do you know anybody that has it? I'm like, no. And I would finally find somebody. He's like, no, not an aunt's uncle's friend. I mean, do you actually know somebody? I'd be like, no. Now, this second
I agree.
wave,
Well, I agree with you. But there are people that got it the first time, Sypha, Bethany. People that have gotten it and have the antibodies and don't know that they even had it.
Right, people that got tested. Yep, that's true. I've heard about a lot of those people. But then you got to also trust those fucking tests.
Well, that's my other thing.
know?
Like we were talking about. It is flu and cold season. So if the tests are rigged in any way at any percentage, then you're going to have more people going in to get tests because they have symptoms, and then now it's COVID.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely have heard about the people that say they or that were very sick, and then all of a sudden, when they did get antibody tests or whatever, they said they had it, and it was before we even had a label on this thing.
Yeah.
So I did know some of those people, but during March or whatever, I didn't know many. And especially when it came to deaths were all like very old people, nursing homes, where you're seeing more death, I think, this time, even though it's so strange. I don't know.
What if they just
I don't
release
fucking know.
something else
That's-
and they're like,
I was on the phone with my friend yesterday talking about that.
and if they're already have the tests rigged, right, a certain percent is going to come up positive no matter what they have, and then they can just all be COVID.
Well, there's a conspiracy out there that definitely fucking freaks me out, is that it was all a trap. So the beginning was on purpose to get everyone to be, see, this shit's bullshit, fuck this. And that the second one was going to be the real punch, or the vaccine is going to have.
How long ago did you hear this, or is this just
In the beginning.
really?
Yeah, in the beginning, when everyone was realizing, like, early. I won't say like the very very beginning, but
That
when,
it looked like it was.
when people were
something
getting
up with
it
that.
and getting like sniffles and then done in a couple of days.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people were saying the second wave is going to be worse, or I've heard this one a million times, or the vaccine is going to actually be the real bioterror weapon or whatever that's going to have
Well,
something in it.
That one's easy to avoid
Maybe
for now.
maybe
For now.
maybe
Until
I
they
hope so.
implement that you have to do it so you can buy Ticketmaster tickets.
Yeah, and like the whole social credit type thing, like you're not going to get on a. I think Ticketmaster is. It's easy to think about the Ticketmaster thing and say, well, you know what, then I won't see concerts anymore, which is a very hard thing for me. But I've already come to the conclusion, like, okay, then I won't see concerts, and I don't think it's going to last forever. I think it'll only be a couple of years. But I think where it's going to get very dicey and tricky is I think employers are going to say, no, you have to have it or you can't come to work. I think, let's say if you want to use public transportation, I think that's where it's going to get, where you're going to have to be like a fucking off-the-grid weirdo. And
A vagabond, so you
Yeah.
can travel around.
but then that's where I feel like
And then
people got to come
people-
in communities and just say, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna put our resources together. See, why is it so hard, Clint? Why is it so hard for groups of people to come together and just create their own communities? Why is it so rough? Everyone talks about it. Like, give everyone a bag of Coke, and they're gonna start the fucking community tomorrow.
Wow.
And then no one, the phone rings, and no one's picking it up for. But it's
Yeah,
like
they're
everyone gets these
hungover.
grand ideas. But why is it so hard? But seriously though, man, I was walking through my neighborhood today, and I saw a bunch of for sale signs, and I was like, all these New York comics ask me about leaving the city. Where would you go? And I got this cool little community I live in, and I'm like, I should tell all the comics to buy up these houses,
Yeah.
and then so I know all my neighbors. And it sounds so
And they're rad.
yeah, so everyone's friends, everyone knows each other, and then like community and small. It's so important, and I hope that's what everyone learns from this: is how important small government is, how important your mayor is, how important your governor is. I hope that's the lesson that at least people
do you-
understand.
Do you think that's getting to more people right now? I mean, I guess there is a faction of people. We've mentioned some people that I think are probably going that way a little more than they were prior. But I feel like the people that are mad were already that way. You know what I mean? And the other people are like, we need more safety.
Yeah, that's true. It is split, but I think it doesn't matter what side you're on. It's crazy, man. I finally, which I used to always do this, and I need to get back into this. I started looking at not my echo chamber of how I think,
Yeah.
and for the last 2 weeks, I started looking on, I'll call it the other side, the people that are really pro lockdown, pro mask. I started trying to like get into their heads and reading like what they say, and reading their message boards and reading their comments. And it is crazy. There's some people out there like, lock it down. You guys are crazy. You're and it's most of the time it's very young people. I noticed too. It's
Yeah.
strange. It's a lot of young people that are like,
Because they're the most compassionate. Because people, here's the two things. People that are older have seen a lot of their friends die
Yeah.
already, you know? One, and this has been a long, over a long life. I just went to the funeral of a 87-year-old, got like liver cancer and died. Other than that, there's some sort of something with the liver and then it failed. So, but other than that, healthy.
yeah.
Didn't die of COVID. Like people that are older realize that, like we were talking about, when it's your time,
Yeah.
that's all that there is. So I think that being around and having seen things come and go, you're like, well, you got to be careful, but you can't just lock yourself in your. Did they make people stay home in 1918 or just wear masks?
I don't know.
I've never seen anything about a lockdown. I don't think, just that you had to wear masks.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, remember, think about how the information spread so much slower too, though.
Yeah.
There's probably like pretty little villages that didn't even, nothing was going on. You know what I mean? Like information.
They
So-
did wired.
It's weird to me because a part of me now says we probably should have. It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, but a part of me says maybe we should have shut the whole country down for 3 weeks, but real shutdown when we were supposed to, not
See-
this like. But then another part of me is like, that's not fair to the guy in Montana. That it's never going to touch his. Like, why did they have to all? You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
fair.
No.
It's easy to fucking be a Monday morning quarterback and say what we should have done. I think from the beginning we all should have just really just took care of compromised people. Anybody compromised, take care of them. Probably not have sent people with COVID back into nursing homes. That probably wasn't the best idea.
Exactly.
You know,
like
that probably should have quarantined them.
and that's where 40% of the deaths came from. Do you know that? It's something like that. So now we're being chastised for killing grandma when fucking they did that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what. This
Here-
thing is
here's-
fucked, man. This thing is fucked. And the more you look
Besides
at
that, even and you know, very early on, I had discussions with people online, and they're like, "You'd think different when it affects your family or somebody close to you dies," and I'm like, "Yo, is it any worse that they died of COVID or died in a car accident or like I don't think that it." People still die, and there was always the chance of giving grandma pneumonia.
True. You and I have talked about that from
The only
so
difference is that they weren't testing everybody all day, so it never got tracked back to you, so you could feel like a piece of shit.
That's the another thing. It's funny you said. That's another thing I'm not really cool with.
Tracking.
I gotta say,
everybody?
I am very proud of the people though. Did you see Governor Murphy's been coming on, and that's the New Jersey governor. He's been coming on, and he's freaking out because he said 70% of people will not comply with contact tracing, and he's like, they're like, why do you think that? He's like, because they don't want to rat each other out. I'm like, good for fucking New Jersey, but he's like, and we're not ratting, you're not ratting each other out. You're just help. But what is that doing? Okay, so you're gonna say, oh, this guy. Okay, so this guy who it's not his fault. He went to the fucking grocery store or wherever the fuck happened, and somehow he got it. Had no idea, was asymptomatic, and make him feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
What's the point? Now I know
So control.
Exactly, man. This is all control. The mask.
Because if they can pinpoint it to you gave Betsy COVID, you know what I mean, and make you feel like a piece of shit, they can track it and be like, this is make you feel bad, and this is why, and now for everybody's safety, you have to go and stay home so you don't kill anyone. I mean, all of it is, I think, like just mental tactics to get us to
how much push, right? How much can you?
Yeah,
it is. It definitely is, man. My
right
opinions,
now, I think we're doing terribly.
Oh, with
in
complying?
resisting the push.
Yes, we are. But dude, I just go back and forth in my head, and I wish I could be as brave as I'd like to be and just say fuck it. And the problem is, they got you by the balls from the beginning, especially in this state, in New Jersey.
Yeah. Well,
with the
any
licensing
business.
When they have which is, and then we got to really think about that. Think about all these regulations and licensing. What is that all about? Let's break it all fucking down.
Dude.
Why I'm blessed and I'm very lucky that my family 40 years ago, my family, they bought liquor licenses in New Jersey. But if I was to start off myself,
what is it, $500,000 or $1 million or some shit like that?
That's what it's worth now. So that's what I'm getting at. So if I wasn't born into this industry, which is a fucking getting destroyed, but if I wasn't born into it, I wouldn't be able to just say, let me go. How I can't play.
Yeah.
If my dream was to own a restaurant and sell beer, craft beer, and all this stuff, or have a bar or whatever it was, I wouldn't be able to come up with, because you can't finance a liquor license either. You got to buy it.
Yeah. Because they want to know that you have that liquid money to do it.
Oh, dude, the way they tie you up in New Jersey with one, you have to be. So that's like what's going on with the weed licenses. Yeah. Everyone's like, "Oh, Romanelli, I knew you're going to get into weed," and I went to all of the meetings. I was at every fucking meeting for years in the beginning.
There's so much red tape to get in a.
And that was even a scam. Even the meetings were a scam. They were like a couple $100 just to get into the meetings. It was all a scam. And I'm like looking around, and then finally, I think on the third or fourth big meeting they had, which honestly the whole thing was just a campaign to get Murphy.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Every speaker was like, "But we got to elect Murphy," and I was like, "Let's elect Murphy," right? But that was the message in all these things, right, Clint? But finally, I think it was the third or fourth one, they started breaking down how you can get a license. And I'm half a fucking idiot, so I'm like reading stuff. My father's a lot sharper than me. He's like reading it, and I'm like, I think we could do this. He goes, Mike, no. He starts reading. He goes, One of the things, don't quote me on the number, but let's just say it was definitely $1 million. You had to have $1 million liquid cash money that you had to show the government where it all came from, and they straight up told you that if you try to get 8 of your friends together, that you're just not. They in the paperwork they didn't say that, but when the guys giving the lectures were saying we're going to put you on the bottom of the list, you're never going to get a license. So you have to basically they just cut out regular people. Like in California and Colorado, I believe it was very easy to get in. Nah, they ain't doing that here in New Jersey. They're doing like the Nevada laws. Like in Nevada, they made it where you had to be a third generation. You had to be a third generation from Nevada. You know how small of a percentage of the people are in Nevada that have lived there 3 generations?
Oh my God.
That's a transient place. It's a place where people, it's a couple families. So they just do all these little things that it's like, we got to start thinking, man, are we fucking free?
No, fuck
This
no.
thing really made me realize, like, are we really fucking free at
No.
all?
Yo, do you own your house?
Yeah.
Stop paying taxes on it and see who owns that motherfucker.
Exactly.
It ain't you.
Exactly.
When I was told that by my parents, they were like, the house, this and that. And I was like, but when you're done paying on it, then that's it. They go, no. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, no, you still got to pay the government. And I'm like, so you bought the whole thing, built everything, and then they can still come in and take it if you don't pay your
And
fucking
raise your taxes. And raise them whenever they want.
Dude.
You know?
The other thing with it's the same thing with the CDLs.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a big semi to pull the monster truck, and it was originally registered as a RV, but then they looked at the pictures and there was no bathroom, so they took the RV thing off of it. So I got pulled in Minnesota for DOT, and they're like, you know, people don't just buy these and drive them around or whatever. And I was like, I thought that, like, if it was an RV, you could. And he's like, yeah, but it's not an RV. So I'm like, he's like, it's about safety and this and that. And I'm like, I thought you could buy, you know, if it was an RV. And he's like, yeah, but this isn't an RV. And I'm like, so an 80-year-old dude could buy a 70-foot fucking RV and drive that around without any type of extra license, and that would be fine. And they just stood there. And I'm like,
Wow.
because that's how it is. And it's supposed to be about safety, but that's obviously not about safety.
It's not, man.
That's about them being able to collect because now it's for commerce. Yo, the DOT's a pain in the ass. They just, like, your truck is over a certain weight.
Yeah.
Then they can pull you for whatever. If you have any type of logo on your truck, they can pull you and just be like, see what you actually do. And if there's a logo on it, it's to further a business. Technically, that's internet commerce or interstate commerce.
So that's when they could. It's crazy, dude.
They can like fine you or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
It's so nuts. It is so nuts. The regulations, the red tape. I've opened up businesses in all over New Jersey, and I'll never forget. There was one town, actually the town of Denville, New Jersey. I opened up an ice cream shop, and it was it was so smooth and easy, and the mayor actually like spoke to me. Like everything was so easy, and he was like, you know, I'm a businessman, and I just want to be pro business. And if you go in that town, there's a lot of mom and pop shops. You know, they actually have a main street with you know, boutiques and all kinds of stores, and you don't see a lot of chains, you know. And I'll never forget, I'm like talking to the mayor, and he's like, no, I'm just pro business. I just want, and I was shocked because it was like in the middle of my career of opening places, and it was like I couldn't believe how easy it was, where I thought there was like, I was almost like waiting for someone to be like something to happen.
A catch.
Yeah, because everywhere, like I've opened up a place right down the street, and it was the complete opposite, where everything was a permit, a problem, you know, inspections and all that kind of shit. Where this was just like push it forward, boom, 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 and that shit's crazy, man. Like it should be where, the American dream. You know, obviously you got to save money and all that stuff, and it shouldn't be like, but the playing field should be level for everyone. If someone wants to, it's hard
Yeah.
enough to run a fucking business. It's
Yeah.
hard enough to run a business that if it's just all that we're not as free. We're not as free as we think we are.
We're 100% not. And that's
We're
why
not.
I've taken up the businesses that I have, honestly. I always wanted to do stuff where I don't have employees. They're independent contractors. I hire them on a per event basis or whatever. I don't have regular business hours because that sucks chasing that around sometimes as well.
Yep.
And I don't have a ton of inventory. So it's like I'm not, warehousing shit all the time. So you don't have a lot of overhead. So and honestly, both of them are fairly unregulated. Nobody's checking freestyle motocrossers and nobody's really checking comedians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you stay out of the red tape.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ways around it. There's gray areas, right? There's things you can do. But it just sucks, man. And I think what my point, you were saying about the control. And yesterday I was talking to a bunch of guys and that are in the restaurant industry, and we all had our masks on, and I hate how in the beginning of the meeting no one knows if you're shaking hands, fist bumping, that whole.
Yeah.
I'm already a weird beginning greeter. I'm already like don't know how to greet people, and now it's like I don't even know what to do. I just kind of stand there and like if you put your hand out, I'll shake it. What are we doing? Some people do the elbow. Some people just do but the guy was saying, he was an older gentleman who's been around for a while, and he was saying how he goes, see these things, pointing to the mask. He goes, they ain't going anywhere. He goes, I've been in, I did a lot of business in Asia for years, and we all kind of laughed at Asians for these things. He goes, those masks, let me tell you something, they ain't going anywhere for a while. And those masks, first of all, I don't think they do shit.
I don't either.
I think they do nothing. And I think that's the first, and I know we're not breaking groundbreaking information right now, but we're just talking,
Hot take.
But I do believe that's the first little thing. Like, here, let's see how far we can go with this stupid mask. I mean, you see the one I wear. I wear this fucking piece of cloth. It's not. It literally says this does not protect from viruses, but I have to I wear it on my neck. I pick it up so I can just get into places.
Yep.
And then go look in the hospital or go look in where they're really in with people. They're in full biohazard suits.
Yeah.
They're in things with filters and all that stuff. Why aren't they just in little masks? Like, these masks are doing nothing.
What's the purpose?
It's all control. I think it's control.
Just control.
Now listen, people say, and this is interesting too, and I think a lot of the onion is starting to really unravel, and you're really starting to see different layers of things. The people say, oh, it's a grand conspiracy. No, there are so many people that believe whatever they're told. Yeah. That's what I think it really is. There's good people that truly believe that mask is helping.
Yeah, and they're trying to save people.
Their intentions are good.
Yeah.
And I bet you there's a lot of people. I bet you that idea goes even deeper when you in Hollywood and in government. That, maybe I don't think it's as many people understand what they're actually doing and think they're just doing their job. And I do think, like everything, it's blowing up in their face because they're pushing so hard, and people are like, wait, well, why are we doing this? With the businesses, certain businesses could be shut down. You see a lot of this in the news right now where certain businesses are trying to get cute and not putting locks on their doors or calling it a donation instead of they're getting cute with the stuff because all along Walmart is allowed to be open. Yeah. All along it's like it's literally now starting to be like it looks like you're trying to squeeze out the regular Americans trying to live their dream.
Alex Jones said this 10 years ago.
Yeah. Dude, I know everyone likes to shit on not everyone. A lot of people like to shit on Alex Jones.
I've always liked Alex. He's a little crazy,
but
listen,
nuts.
we all know people that are crazy.
He'd be an awesome stand-up.
I'm sure he would be. And we all know people that are a little crazy. I don't think that's a immediate,
I gotta say, listen, is he a salesman? 100% he's selling, but he's got to. I mean, look at the thing he's doing. So, but Alex has been right a lot.
Oops, I just realized I have Mike Romanelli under my picture on this. That's fine.
So Alex has been right a lot. Now, his intentions and all that, I don't know. I know the deeper you go down the rabbit hole, people will say he's controlled opposition. But hey, same thing with Q. The whole Q thing. A lot of information was real. What is Q? I have no fucking clue. Is Q real? Is Trump real? Is this whole thing with Trump? I'm starting to think like that this might have been a big whole play from the beginning. I just think that I'm not sure to think anymore. I do, but what I do know is that if more people, like we were saying about getting communities together, getting families and friends, people say, let's just buy this area. Now we own this town. Think about how easy it really could be.
Yeah.
for a bunch of people to say we're going to take over this town. It's really not that hard. Do you ever watch Wild Wild Country? I mean, they had a lot of money, but that's interesting. That's interesting how they really took over they took over a town. That's interesting. You should watch Wild Wild Country. It's fucking amazing, by the way. If you never saw it, it's amazing. But
They become sheriffs and everything.
oh,
and
everything.
then just-
They run everything. Yeah. So, but you know, we have so much more power. It's crazy, and it makes me want to bang my head against the wall because it's so simple. In a way, it's so simple to take back the power because there are things set up in this great country because the country is great. But for whatever reason, we're just like idiots. We're just like, those big cows controlled by a little wire.
Because they do still have that little bit of a. I think there is a faction of people that are like, we should definitely I still think that you could kill grandma a bit does affect people to an extent, even ones that, listen, I think that they're manipulating us and everything, but at the same point, my parents are old, and I would hate to fucking be all braggadocious about it and then fucking want them to die of COVID. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
I think that there's still, even the people that want to fight back are still at some level, there is something. That's the problem. There is something, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's being weaponized for sure, and we're not being told all the correct information.
Oh yeah, and I believe this thing is definitely I think it was man-made for sure. The more people I know that have the virus, it's very strange. When you talk to doctors or nurses, off the record, they'll never go on the record. They'll tell you things like this is a weird fucking virus. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
It
just acts weird and does
a lot of weird secondary things. I think it was definitely from once again. What do I really know? But when talking to professionals, they all kind of say the same thing. Like, this thing is strange.
Yeah.
It's not acting the way, and that's all being suppressed. And that's totally crazy if you say that, if it didn't come, or who it came from, or the other day, man, I was thinking what if really this is I shouldn't even bring this up because I don't really want to spread positivity. It's so easy to take the black pill these days. It's so easy to take the black pill.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just be and I got to stay away from that. But I was just, fuck it. I don't even want to bring it up. I don't want to put it out there.
I'll bring something up. I have been listening to an audiobook called Immortality Key.
Okay.
And it basically traces Christianity back to the religion that has no name before it. And basically Christianity hijacked Dionysus, who was the god of ecstasy. And Dionysus is kind of, he was kind of ambiguous, almost feminine, long hair, in a place where nobody had long hair like that.
Okay.
And his very first thing was turning water into wine, except his wine was psychedelic.
Really?
Yeah. So he did a ton of research and actually traces a bunch of stories back to things in the Bible and sacraments and stuff like that, back to them. Basically they just hijacked, all the holidays and everything are at the same time, and now they do the wine, so it's just like a placebo sacrament. And that's what they just tried to fade out. He even actually went to the Vatican and found information of them, records of all of the witches that they tried and killed that were the makers of the sacrament. So basically, nobody wrote down these potions or anything.
Mm-hmm.
They were all handed down from mother to daughter, and only the women did it. That's why the witch hunt happened. So what I'm saying is we all need to be doing some sort of psychedelics so that we can get in touch with.
Well, okay,
The-
so I have
the
questions for
greater-
you. So
yes.
this is Dionysus? It was
Dionysus was the
the dude?
yeah. That they,
And do you know, was this pagan?
yeah.
So he's a pagan,
Yep. God.
he's a pagan god.
Yeah.
Wasn't the guy who started it.
No. It was basically they just
That
took
was their
who
Jesus, let's say.
they modeled Jesus after this guy.
Gotcha.
He was way before him, thousands of years.
Yeah.
And if you look at a bunch of the things, like I said, the first miracle he did, so it was different. Dionysus's mom was a goddess, obviously, and so she kept. Or no. Okay,
Should we?
his mom was a virgin. They
Yeah.
can't hear any of that.
No.
His mom was a virgin. Go figure.
Yeah.
And the god came down and impregnated her. So he's a demigod. He's not a full-blown
Yeah.
god. So she kept bragging about her son and kept telling him, like, hey, come and do the trick. Come and do the trick. And he's like, no. So then she had some sort of party. And he showed up and she, like, said that he was going to do it in front of everybody. And he was kind of mad. He was like, fuck. Like, so then he went and changed, like, 40 gallons into psychedelic wine. And then they tripped their fucking balls off.
Wow, that's cool, man. I've heard like things like this, but I didn't know this is exactly like. So you
If you it's a audio. Well, I'm listening to it on audiobook
Yeah.
because I'm a Neanderthal. But
oh, that's cool.
he researched a ton. He never even did psychedelics when he did this. He just listened to all the old what do they call them? Like old professors and shit like that had actually. So one guy actually exposed this in the 70s, and they just clowned the fuck out of him. And was just like totally delegitimized him.
Really?
And now they found that yes, there was actually psychedelics in the wine, and they he's been researching trying to
Ergot and stuff like that. Right?
exactly. But then there's tons of others, nightshades,
Mhm.
which is this like tomatoes are nightshades, but it's something in that family. I can't remember now, but there's a bunch of herbs that they used and they would mix together. And like I said, these women, it was originally in beer. The
Mhm.
pagans way back did it in beer, and then the Romans switched it to wine.
Yep.
And then they started doing it in wine.
Yeah. So that's cool, man. Yeah, I know that a lot of the religions, almost all of them, are kind of like pagan.
The same-
Follow from
yeah.
pagan and follow. That's cool. I didn't know about that exact.
So that's
specific.
what they were trying to basically, when Rome was taking places over and trying to get them to switch to Christianity, they rewrote these stories so that way the people that somewhat had heard of or believed in the old tradition, it was easier for them to transfer over. And they think that initially when they brought them to Christianity, the wine was still psychedelic, and then they faded it out, and then gave them the wine, but just the placebo one. But the issue is that people would become too aware, and they wouldn't fall for their bullshit. So they're like, we got to get rid of this. They said it was also healing wines as well.
I mean,
They called it medicine.
yeah, that's wild, man. I gotta look more into that. And I've heard, like I said, I've heard of the pagan. I mean, it's so obvious too when you look at like the symbolisms and you look at
And the Christmas tree
Yeah.
and the Amanita muscaria underneath it being red and white, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
it comes
If
in the
you- yeah.
fall when it's under, pine trees.
with the pineal, with the pine trees,
Yeah.
and then with Easter with the eggs and all that stuff for
Yeah.
fertility.
Well, and the one is Easter with the return of the sun.
Yep.
That happens to also be the day that it goes from the days getting shorter, the shortest day, and then it's the first day when the days start to get longer. Return of the sun.
Yep. Yeah, Return of the Sun. Exactly.
So a lot of it had to do with the cycle of the earth and stuff like that. I think it's so funny, like, man, all these religions are just knocked off of one of the other, and they just hit all the knowledge of the previous one. And then I think nowadays all these religions, Muslim and Christian and everything like that, are inner fighting. Like, basically the stories just had to be told to their cultures different because they had different languages and this and that. And I think they're just like fighting over translation.
Yeah. Yeah.
The stories are all close as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me. I always think about, kind of connected to this, is how like with the ancient structures, the pyramids and things like that, how they're all lined up perfectly with the sky.
Yeah.
And I always thought that like somehow those pyramids were communicating with the other pyramid. Like obviously we don't
Yeah.
know that missing piece, but the way they lay and where they're put on ley lines and perfectly matching with whatever constellations they're matching, I just feel like it's some kind of communication, some kind of energy device, something. Like I would love to go back and just know exactly what the fuck was going on. I think we were.
Yeah,
right.
I
know we
think
talked
they're
about this.
energy devices. Honestly.
Yeah, some kind of energy device that's whole. You know, I know we've talked about this a million times, but I think whenever those things were like not when Cleopatra was running them, but when they actually
no, before
were
that when
when
they were
actually
in
like,
use.
Yes, I think that
Not
I would
temples.
love to go.
I don't think they were made to be temples. They were like
yeah,
some
or
big
tombs and things.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. They were
No.
big like power plants, and then these fucking other society found it. And I'm sure the first king was like, "Look what I built," and they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
very good."
Yeah, of course. And then I think I would love to have if I can go back, I would love to see what was really going on. I think I really truly believe that we were probably more advanced.
I
back
do
then.
too.
Like way more advanced. I mean, think about it, dude. I know you and I have talked about it. I don't know if we've talked about it on air. So if we have,
They knew how to
sorry.
use the all those things are made of natural elements. They knew
can
how
be.
to work with
they
it.
can be, but think about it, Clint. Okay, that's what it's funny. That's what I was kind of get at. Okay, if something disastrous happened here,
Yeah, maybe everything else rotted away.
if something
Like the skin
okay.
of the pyramids, right? What was it supposed to have been?
oh, I believe it was definitely all like lit up and like
Yeah.
you know, but check it out. If
No, you're right.
If
Where you're going with it.
thousands of years from now, right? Like this cell phone would be gone.
This building.
These wires won't be here.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You know, so we could be like, oh, but some
So
structures
only
might
the
stay.
really
and who
big-
knows if we even have anything that strong?
We
Maybe
don't.
not. We don't.
You know what's going to be left? Same things
Yeah.
that were left
Yeah.
for us to find.
Exactly, right? So that's what makes me think exactly that they were more advanced than we ever will be.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly, right? So I think they were way more advanced. And
It's true. It's
a
not to
reset.
say that they didn't have these elements that we're making or these products that we're making.
How do you know? They could have had cell phones.
yeah.
How the fuck would you know?
Yeah.
There would be no trace of it.
See, my
There would be
my
no trace
thought
of it.
was that it would have been more. They would have figured out how to do telepathy or something like that.
They probably got it right.
That's my thought, is that we are in an age where we are advanced, but we're advanced with a lot of greed and a lot of
The wrong
know,
intention. It's the wrong intention
Exactly.
behind our progress.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that at another time, and maybe there's a lot to say that at whatever point that we were run more by women, or it was a more empathetic culture,
Mhm.
and like all these women that were providing the sacrament to everybody. That's who was the healers,
Mhm.
and also introduced people to whatever they were communicating with. And they went away from that, and they
Yes.
made the women all bad and killed all these witches with all this knowledge.
Yep.
And I think we're just in a bad way now, not probably.
It's an unpopular opinion, but I've gotten this like download stream of information, and some of my friends make fun of me, but I through some heavy psychedelic experiences, I've like went back and had these, like I said, this like download of information where it was like I saw that back in the day, the women, like it's almost like the men were supposed to be the hunters, the gatherers, and the women are supposed to rule, and that was the way it was a long time ago. And like there's so many things with systems and society that we have so backwards. Like think about it. I mean, I know it's not popular, and I'm not trying to be like a male feminist at all. I'm just saying, just as an idea, if a woman was in charge, like how a mom acts compared to a dad, but if that person had that power to raise the family, which is the collective family of all humans, things would be handled a little differently. And I believe that that's kind of probably in that era, or that we're talking about this enlightenment that with these pyramids and everything. I believe that women were running it in Atlantis and all that kind of stuff, and it was probably more of a peaceful time.
Yeah.
It was probably more peaceful, and it was probably there's it's like Tesla, right? Like Tesla figured out so many things that we were supposed to be doing, like free energy and a lot of his inventions, but they got shut down because, like you said, the intentions were wrong, because everyone is, dude, here we go. We could just break something down very simple. You're telling me in today's day and age, you can't make a battery that lasts forever. Of course you can.
They don't want to.
Of course you
Things
can.
have started to last less.
It drives me fucking. It drives me insane.
We're so advanced and shit.
It
40
drives me
years ago
insane.
lasts 10 times longer. Like, it's hilarious.
And you got to see that with, you got to see that with mechanics and right,
Yeah.
like how
No, for
older
sure.
stuff was better.
Yeah.
Guys, this was a quick hit today. It's been a while, so I just wanted to get something out there. We love all of you guys. What's up, the Swarm? Working on some big things with Tommy G and 4 Deep. You're going to see us on there. I know his site's getting put together. And the Dojo of Comedy. I know things are getting a little dicey in New Jersey, but we are working on some other fun ways to keep this thing going. I want to thank everyone that listens. Please like, subscribe, share any of our stuff. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate the downloads and the kind words. Thanks so much. Like I said, this was a quick one. We'll be back in a couple more days with another episode. Thanks so much.
Yeah, guys, thanks, everybody. We just ran into a bunch of roadblocks with all the craziness. So we want to thank Hero Soap Company. Please, everybody, support them. You've heard the spiel. It supports deployed troops and first responder benefits. And you can get 20% off on their site with the code FREETHINKERS with an S. All right, people.